Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the new MX Garand, which is one of the new DLC weapons in Call of Duty Black Ops 3. It's one of the ones that you can unfortunately only get through supply drops. You can get it in regular supply drops, rare supply drops, with crypto keys, or with COD points. I got all of the new weapons except for this one, so unfortunately today the gameplay is not mine, but thankfully Daniel Cross, formerly known as FaZe Cross, or just regular old Cross on YouTube, did submit the gameplay for me. He sent it in. Longtime friend of the channel, personal friend. We stream together all the time. I'd appreciate it if you'd go to his channel and at least tell him thank you for sending me this gameplay, so big shout out to him. Great gameplay, by the way, since he's typically a sniper. A semi-automatic weapon like this that can sometimes one-shot kills right up his alley. I think he goes 82 and 14 and gets a nuclear, so very, very good. The MX Garand is a throwback to the World at War M1 Garand, based on the real-life weapon, of course, that helped the Allies or the Americans win World War II. Fantastic weapon, but it does have a flaw, and that's that you cannot reload it without first emptying the entire magazine, and that does carry over into the future of 2040 here with this crazy little throwback weapon. But let's talk about all the stats first. This weapon will deal a flat damage of 60 up close, 55 at medium range, and 49 at its maximum range, giving it the highest damage in the entire game per shot, not including sniper rifles. This is the highest in the assault rifle class and one of the highest damages per second in the entire game. This is higher damage than the Sheiva. I just do want to point this out, that this is an extremely high damage weapon and it should be taken seriously. As such, you can wallbang with it too, because the flat damage is so high, it's still doing pretty good damage on the other side of the wall. The max 2-shot kill range is 51 meters. I'll say that again. 51 meters is the maximum 2-shot kill range, which is all the way across most of the maps. Only in the longest of long-range engagements will this weapon ever be a 3-shot kill, and I do want to point out that this is the same as the Sheiva. Since this is a new weapon, it's a supply drop gated weapon, so it's random who gets it and who doesn't, and it's mostly compared to the Sheiva, which is also semi-automatic. We're going to be doing a lot of Sheiva comparisons so that you can make up your opinion on if this weapon is fair or overpowered or not, and of course I'll offer my opinion later on. But 51 meters is an impressive amount of range, and it is identical to the Sheiva. Like the Sheiva, high caliber turns this into a headshot monster. You can get one-shot kills to the head, even in core mode with this weapon, up to considerable ranges, just like the Sheiva. So I think that high caliber is a great attachment. Cross is using it right here in this gameplay. It's definitely the way to go if you're going to use the MX Garand. Go for headshots, use high caliber, kill people in one shot, drop them instantly. Extremely effective. The rate of fire is 300 rounds per minute, which is significantly higher than that of the Sheiva. I do want to point out that it's still not exactly a super fast firing weapon because it is semi-automatic and does have a cap, but it does fire faster than the Sheiva. Given the extremely high damage, the high caliber potential, and the faster rate of fire than the Sheiva, I want to say the MX Garand has an extremely fast time to kill, faster than the Sheiva, and of course if you're getting your one-shot headshots, or even if you hit your 2 body shots very quickly, a faster time to kill than any of the other assault rifles that's coming to mind. Of course not quite as competitive with the Vesper or some shotguns and things like that, but extremely fast time to kill, extremely dangerous weapon, and should be taken very, very seriously if somebody on the other team has it and is playing against you. Another neat fact about this weapon when it comes to attachments is that it has a unique suppressor, which is why Cross is using it in this gameplay. I suggested it to him. The MX Garand suppressor reduces range by 25%. This is basically how suppressors worked in older Call of Duty games, whereas in Black Ops 3, a normal assault rifle suppressor will reduce range by approximately 75%. I believe only the MX Garand and the KN-44 have special suppressors, so everything else, including the Sheiva, will get a negative 75% range penalty when you're using a suppressor. However, the MX Garand doesn't. It only gets 25% less range, making it the best suppressed weapon in the entire game. So you do shave off a little bit of that 50-meter kill potential. That was realistically, that was overkill anyway for a suppressor, which keeps you off the radar and allows you to shoot people. And that's very important given the fact that you only have 8 shots and you're going to be constantly fiddling with reload. You don't want a whole lot of people chasing you down and knowing where you are. The shots are very distinct. Everybody hates this weapon. They consider it OP. So if you use it, Suppressor is the way to go just because it's like the best attachment for the weapon, and it'll keep you off the radar while you're reloading and while everybody's trying to hunt you down and kill you. The MX Garand also has severe magazine capacity issues. This is probably the Achilles heel of the weapon, or the balancing factor. Everything else makes it seem incredibly overpowered, and I would say that it would be, except it only has 8 rounds in the magazine. That's less than many of the pistols in this game, less than shotguns. It's only twice as much as the Black Cell, and when you run extended mags, it only goes up to 12 rounds, which is extremely tiny for an assault rifle. There is almost no ammo capacity here. I mean, you will pretty much burn through this after you kill 2 people, maybe 3, maybe even 1 if you're not very accurate. That is the limiting factor of this weapon, along with the fact that it can only be reloaded when empty. So you can shoot as much as you want, and you can tap square, you can hit R, you can press X, and it's not going to reload unless it's empty. You have to fire off the entire magazine, so you might end up having to waste a couple of shots in order to be able to reload the weapon, and you've probably seen Cross do that several times in this episode. That is another huge limiting factor and can be incredibly frustrating to have to maybe say have 2 shots, but you have to land both of them to get a kill before you have to reload, or only have 1 shot left, but now you have to waste it and then reload, which is a waste of time. And the reload itself is relatively slow at 2.1 seconds. It's slower than most of the other assault rifles, so this is extremely frustrating. As you can kind of see the picture here, the weapon's performance, damage, range, rate of fire, time to kill, accuracy, all that, extremely good, actually going into the overpowered range. But only 8 rounds in the magazine, and you can only reload it when it's empty, and the reload time is slow. That's a big issue. That kind of makes it only good for killing 1 or 2 people at a time in most cases. As far as handling is concerned, aim down sights time, sprint in and out time, hip fire time, movement speed, they're all standard assault rifle times. I thought that they might be nerfed, kind of like the Man-O-War, or a little bit slower like the Sheiva, but no, it has almost exactly standard assault rifle performance, like your good old XR2, HVK30, M8A7, KN44. It's going to handle and feel a lot like the other weapons when it comes to these sort of properties. I didn't feel like listing all the different times and stuff, but because it's just going to handle like a normal assault rifle, which is a good thing because it'd be kind of sad if it handled poorly. Of note, the MX Garand has a higher idle sway and higher recoil than the Sheiva. It has less recoil and less idle sway than other assault rifles, again because it's semi-automatic, but it does kick more than the Sheiva. The Sheiva is ultimately the more accurate weapon of the two, and I think that's where the Sheiva is somewhat better. The Sheiva is going to be easier to use at long ranges, and of course it has a much larger magazine capacity than the MX Garand. However, in medium to close range, and as long as you're only dealing with 1 or 2 people, the MX Garand is significantly better than the Sheiva. I feel that this weapon is best used with a suppressor because it has a unique suppressor. It has less penalty than anything else, and you want to stay off the radar while you're fooling around reloading. That is incredibly valuable. After the suppressor, high caliber is extremely valuable because that allows you to get one-shot kill headshots. Pretty much can't go wrong with that. Same thing I would recommend with the Sheiva. Fast mags is fantastic. Increasing your reload speed is a godsend. Extended mags is also nice, but in my personal opinion, not quite as nice as fast mags. If you have the attachment slots, you can run them both. Pretty nice. And I do feel that it needs optics. The iron sights aren't terrible, you know, you can use them, but this is an extremely high precision weapon with an extremely limited magazine. Optics are going to be nice. That's going to help you hit people at long ranges. It's going to help keep you on target and help keep things, you know, useful, practical, all that. As you can kind of tell, I'm recommending that you stack this gun with attachments and run relatively few perks. If you're wondering what Cross is running right here, Cross is just using optics, suppressor, and high caliber. He opted not to use fast mags or extended mags. He felt that he could get by without them, and it seemed to work pretty well for him because his gameplay is extremely good. When it comes to what specialists this weapon is best with, I think it's going to be best with the Ripper because it's kind of a long-range weapon, and semi-automatics never perform well in close range. You're probably not going to have the attachment slots to run quick draw and stock and all the things that's going to make it really great up close, so having the ability to just rip people that rush you is extremely effective. Also, something having a nice close range one like Heat Wave or Glitch or something that'll get you out of trouble is very good. If you don't feel that you really need this, then I would probably go for a longer range weapon, kind of like a Scythe or an Annihilator, because you should be posting up in long alleyways using this to kill people in choke points, and you can just naturally transition there. So then the question is this weapon unfair? Is it overpowered? Is it broken? Well, it certainly is strong. it's not a bad weapon. It's definitely a faster killing semi-automatic than the Sheiva and outperforms it in several situations. I think that in a 1v1 combat situation, this weapon is top tier, possibly the best in the game at killing one person, maybe two, and that's only at long ranges. Close range, it's pretty garbage. Super long range, also garbage. It's not a sniper rifle. And the limiting factor is the magazine. It's kind of like almost all of the new weapons. It has some weird ammo capacity issues. Same kind of thing with the Marshall 16. It's an awesome secondary. It kills people in one shot up close. That's great. But you can only shoot it once before you have to reload. The MX Garand, you have to empty your entire magazine before you can reload, and it's an assault rifle with 8 rounds in the magazine. Not exactly ideal. Same kind of thing with the crossbows. If you're not running scavenger, that crossbow's really going to suck because you're going to run out of ammo incredibly fast. Almost all of the new weapons seem to have been balanced around ammo capacity issues. They're all quite strong within their own niche, and they would be overpowered if they did not have ammo capacity issues. So I'm going to say the MX Garand is like barely not overpowered. It definitely would be OP, with the exception of that really sucky magazine and the reload restrictions. Guys, that is all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode was on another DLC weapon, the Marshall 16, and the next episode we're going to be moving on to Specialist with Outrider. Drifter out.